I found a 9-minute YouTube video called Ending Explained. It goes deeper than you think. Your voice is lower than the music. Alright. Hold, wait. Hold to skip. Hold what to skip? Space? Left click? Right click? E? Enter? Escape? Chat. It's a lie. I can't hold anything to skip. Oh, wait, here we go. S. S. It's S. S to speed it up. S for speed. Steam achievement. All is well. Finish the main story. We're gonna see an arm come out of the well. Okay. I'm a bit peeved that it's only 3.5 hours after $40. Let's take a look at this video and see what this guy has to say about it.
For the Reanimal Fund, and thank you for the impromptu spooky night.
You're very welcome. Thank you for helping me cover part of this freaking game. Thank you, 23 cows. Alright, let's see if this guy picks up on anything that I didn't pick up on. I'm still thinking, like... Okay, at first I was thinking the girl died and they brought her back with forbidden magic. Like, you know, human alchemy from Fullmetal Alchemist type of thing. But it showed her tied up in a sack at the well and they were holding a knife. So now I'm wondering if they killed her in the first place. And then they were like, why did you come back?
It offers no explanation, yet reveals everything. 5 masked figures stand silently at the edge of a deep pit. They look down, no one speaks, no one moves. They have thrown something in the pit, but we don't know yet what it is. Then the image cuts away, and the story starts with you in a small boat surrounded by water. Soon, you see a girl floating in the water. You pull her aboard. When she wakes up, she attacks you in panic. One of you says, "I thought you were dead." In this world, disappearance already seems to mean death. The girl looks around and asks where the others are. There's no answer yet. Together you reach land and enter an abandoned factory on the edge of a forest. Here the tone of the game changes permanently. The environment is not just empty, it feels actively hostile. You are watched and pursued by a tall, pale figure. I call him Slenderman for now. I will elaborate more on him in a different video, so subscribe if you want to see it. Only thing we need to know now is that he is chasing us. Inside the factory you encounter someone familiar. He recognizes you immediately and says, "You came back." Then comes a warning, you should leave while you still can. At first this sounds logical, this place is dangerous, but he does not explain, and more importantly, he stays behind himself. The sentence, "you should leave while you still can," is very important, and I will explain later why. Eventually, Slenderman is able to catch your friend and Slenderman takes him home to a cinema. You trying to help your friend escape also enter the cinema, and in the cinema we see something on the screen playing what is very essential. What plays on the screen is not a normal film, but a disturbing sequence of images. A pit appears, rabbits standing in a circle, one rabbit in the center that becomes injured, falls and dies. The circle remains intact. At this moment the images feel abstract, but in hindsight it becomes clear that the cinema is showing the entire story in advance. The rabbits represent the group. The circle is a closed system, or the pit from where everything started. The rabbit in the center is the one individual who is sacrificed so the rest can continue. What is shown here is not meaningless symbolism, it is a blueprint of what is going to happen eventually in the game. Eventually you free your friend and use Slenderman's car to escape. After escaping you get a flashback to the pit. We finally see what was thrown inside the pit. It is a very small sheep. It is almost innocent, but almost immediately the screen turns red. Without a single word, the game makes it clear this sheep is not normal. From this point on, two processes begin to unfold in parallel. The sheep keeps growing bigger and bigger. It rises as if trying to climb out of the pit. At the same time, the girl's condition worsens. She coughs, she grows weaker. It is shown that the sheep is inside the girl. The game does not explicitly explain the connection, but as the sheep grows in the pit, the girl gets weaker. Then the sheep becomes strong and big enough to climb out of the pit. We see that as soon as the sheep climbs out of the pit, that the sheep emerges from the girl's mouth. The girl is not dead somehow, but only temporarily weakened. The sheep, on the other hand, just needs a brief moment and then goes on to chase the other members. He runs away quickly. It is important to notice that the girl didn't transform into the sheep, but that the sheep leaves her body. This explains the true nature of the pit. The pit is not a prison, but a passage. When what it contains grows too large, it searches for another exit. The girl was not a target, she was a channel. From here on, the real pursuit begins. The sheep continues to follow them.
I'm reminded of how Slender Man would go into, like, he could go into, like, the guts of someone and then, like, come out of another corpse somewhere else and use them like a portal. I don't know if that's related at all to what that happened to her, though.
Wherever they go, it reappears. It hunts them, tries to grab them, tries to eat them. The sheep does not grow all at once, but in stages. But it does grow rapidly. In every encounter, we see that the sheep evolved into a bigger sheep, and later on with feet like a spider. We can also see that the sheep eats humans. Eventually, there is a final confrontation between the sheep and our characters. The sheep is now enormous. Escape is no longer possible. With the help of a tank, it seems that the sheep is defeated, but in this final moment, the sheep grabs the boy first in a surprise attack and swallows him whole. There's no struggle, no escape. He simply disappears into its mouth. Shortly after, the sheep takes the girl as well. It feels like the end, but instead the perspective shifts. The girl now finds herself inside the sheep, and now it becomes really interesting. Instead of chaos, she sees another place, a shed where her friends are waiting on her. She walks towards them, but they turn her back and enter the shed. The girl also enters the shed and finds there on the floor a rabbit. Around her, she sees the exact same image that was shown earlier in the cinema. Rabbit standing in a circle with one rabbit in the center. Now everything becomes clear. The cinema was not showing symbols, it was showing a process. What she is witnessing now is the moment when she becomes the rabbit in the center. The boy is gone, the circle needs a new center. Not because she is guilty, but because the system works this way. To make this more clear, the sheep is not a final monster, it is an intermediate stage. Just as the pit once served as a passage, the sheep now functions as a vehicle that brings her to the core of the mechanism. After this realization, the girl sees a crucial scene. Her four friends cut their hands and let their blood drip into an object in the center. This does not feel like something happening now, but like a memory, as if the sheep is showing her what happened long before this moment. The four already knew the ritual long before they ever met the girl. The ritual exists to contain a recurring force, not a creature, but a condition. The sheep is also taken by this force. This force cannot be killed or defeated because it is not external. It is the consequence of a system the group is already part of. Shared guilt, responsibility, and the need to offload a burden that cannot be carried forever. When left unmanaged, this burden does not remain abstract. It becomes physical, hostile, and begins searching for a living body to inhabit. Like a debt that can never be erased, only passed on. The force does not disappear when ignored. It simply looks for someone else to carry it. So in this case, it was the sheep. By cutting their hands and sharing their blood, the four try to distribute this burden evenly among themselves. As long as everyone carries a small part of it, no single person has to become the center. At least that's what they think. But they also know the ritual is not permanent. It only delays the moment when the four...
I'm starting to wonder if this guy actually knows what happened. Or maybe I'm just too stupid. I don't know.
Must be placed somewhere else, and this is why in the first scene of the pit they threw down a sheep in the pit, not to create a monster and not as a sacrifice, but as a container. An animal is innocent, replaceable, and in their eyes preferable to a human life. By placing the force into a sheep and lowering it into the pit, they believe that they are removing it from themselves without condemning one of their own. So in simple words, the force, as I call it, will always need someone. The object in the center of the ritual acts as an anchor for the system, much like the rabbit circles seen later. As long as the center is sustained, the group remains intact. The ritual is not an offering, but a containment method, a way to postpone the moment when one individual must be isolated and sacrificed. What the girl realizes here is that this was never a solution, it only bought time. The force continued to exist, continued to grow, and eventually searched for a new living host anyway. This gives new meaning to all earlier warnings. When her friend said leave, they did not mean...
Okay, so if this guy is onto something, what if here at the end, like we see all these monster sheep, right? What if those are all sheeps that they had thrown in the pit to buy time stalling this dark force out, and each one of them became one of these monsters, and then finally after all of these they're like, okay, we have to sacrifice a person, and then they sacrifice the girl.
mean this place is dangerous. They meant, as long as you stay, someone will have to be chosen. If she had left, no sacrifice would have been necessary, so her friends did try to warn her. In the end, the four bind her and drag her to the pit. The screen turns red, like blood or like a storm. They threw her into the pit. When we look down again from above, only 4 figures remains. The camera descends once more, and we see that the girl lies at the bottom of the pit. At first, she is motionless, then she moves. This is the moment she becomes part of the same mechanism that once held the sheep. In other words, the cycle will keep reappearing, but only in different forms. First it was the sheep, and now in the girl. So the force has found a new container. Eventually, the pit fills with water. The water begins to churn violently as if something enormous is about to awaken. A shape rises from within. The game does not show what it is, but it will not necessarily be a sheep in my opinion, but the girl in a more modified form. But the most important thing is, as long as the pit exists, the circle exists. The form changes, the sacrifice changes, but the system or the force remains intact. Reanimal is not about defeating a monster, it is about how groups shift responsibility, and how time and time again one individual is placed at the center so the rest can continue to exist. Let me know if this explanation was helpful.
Okay, hang on. What? First one's a sniver. I know Reanimal sounds over units. Imagine if it's the only I feel sad for the girl. Interesting as he wanted to become the new sheep. There's some serious leaps and gaps in this interpretation. Oh man, is there anything else? Final verdict. Reanimal story explained. Oh man, dare we watch another one? Dare we watch another one? I want something concrete, damn it.
True terror. However, if there's one thing that's always proven effective, it's fear of the unknown, of the undefinable, the unthinkable, sometimes unpalatable, and in Reanimal's case, the near unfathomable. It's a feeling that I only fully began to grasp when the credits rolled, and at this point, every potential clue is like tugging a thread that just won't come undone. That's really all I can say without getting into spoilers, because this is really something you need to experience for yourself. Far be it from someone like me to really classify Reanimal as effective horror. It is in more ways than you'd think.
Hold on. Is he saying the... Is he actually going to talk about the story?
Will be within clawing distance of the girl, and she's fine. Now, I know that is a nitpick sort of, and while it doesn't outright kill the tension, I couldn't help but find it amusing on more than one occasion. The other element that I can see bringing things down for some is the ending. Now, no spoilers, but after some reflection, the proverbial lighter illuminating the darkness, I felt like it delivered and then some, adding a whole new dimension to the journey. I haven't discovered all the secrets, like the unlockable concept art and alternate masks, so perhaps there's something more to it that I missed, which excites and concerns me in equal measure.
This guy speaks fast.
On a technical level, the experience felt near flawless throughout, with perhaps only one instance of the frame rate dropping.
What timing?
At one point, the game suddenly became unresponsive, which required quitting and relaunching it. Thankfully, this did not affect progress. There's also the odd minor bug.
No, he's not talking about the friggin' story. Damn. I honestly think nobody knows the answer. Nobody knows the answer to this. Hold on. Let's check the Steam group. Let's see if anyone in the Steam group is discussing it. Gameplay done, now to figure out the story. From my understanding, I think they want to tell a story that there is another animal identity, which I don't know why it reminds me of Sheep Dolly inside the girl, who was saved in the middle of the ocean out of nowhere and no reason since start. The more friends were rescued, the more they realized the danger traveling along with their journey is originated from the animal identity trapped inside the girl, even though the girl successfully spit the sheep out, but later the sheep still consumed that girl and made them inseparable. So in the end, the boy and the 3 friends had to throw the girl into the well and let her sink till death. Unluckily, the girl was still not dead, and that's the end scene of the main storyline. Please correct me if I misunderstand anything. I think the ending was actually where it all began. The boy and his friends killed the girl as a sacrifice for some ritual, and the entire story is about how, after being sacrificed, she might have been reborn for some reason, and this is the tale of her revenge. Calling it revenge might not be accurate, but I haven't quite thought of another word to describe it. Maybe it's about how she was finally reanimaled and swallowed those who killed her. I do think the scene with them throwing her in a well was in the past. It would make no sense for it to be happening inside the sheep. I'm a bit lost at the moment. The main boy is clearly going back to rescue his friends. He thought the girl was dead. I'm not sure how to piece it together. There's also a clear reference to World War I. Cool. Like, freaking no one understands this game. Tell me when the game will be complete. I'll buy it then. Why release with only a portion of the game? Wait, what? Is there going to be more to the game? It makes sense why when you meet her the first time, she tries to choke you out. Yeah. Why is the game $40 for the half version and $60 for the full? Wait, what? Wait. Hold on. Well, that's Digital Deluxe. What does Digital Deluxe have? Season Pass. Get the Season Pass for 3 new chapters of DLC that expand the world of Reanimal. An expansion of the main game story, introducing new pro tags, new area, new enemies. What the hell? Summer 2026, fall 2026, and early 2027 for the other chapter. Well, it says continuation of chapter 1 and 2. So they don't go on to the end of the game, but they add more to the middle of the game. Well, all right. I don't know what to say. Review time. Okay, Reanimal. It's an interesting little game. Oh, there's the sheep right there. Yo, it's like it's in plain sight. Reanimal, in terms of graphics and like, you know, just the vibe of the game, it was great. Definitely spooky. They definitely captured that. It was very cool. It was a lot like Little Nightmares, you know? And you could tell that the same people made it. It was the same kind of energy. At the same time, the gameplay wasn't difficult. You know, it was extremely easy gameplay. I was often just sitting here like this with like one hand on WASD moving the characters around. And it was fine. It was very easy, but you know, it was cool. However, 3.5 hours for $40 with an unsatisfying ending where it seems like no one on Google, on YouTube, or in the Steam discussion really understands what the hell the story is trying to say. I'm very let down by that. Again, the game was beautiful and it was cool and all, but it felt like it finished without telling the whole thing. Also, if it is an episodic release, they were not clear on that at the beginning. They were not clear on that. I don't know that that would have made me not play it, but it would have made me less frustrated now if I had known that going into it. I guess that's it. Yeah, like some parts of it were really cool, and like the graphics were amazing. Like that sheep monster, that was horrifying, but very overpriced for the amount of time we got out of it and the satisfaction we got out of it. So that's it. That's my thoughts on Reanimal. Happy Friday the 13th.